Hey, how's it going, everybody? Expat Stacker. Let me just start with a little disclaimer that this is not just going to be a rant. There's going to be some focused and what I think valuable information and lessons that we can all learn at various parts of this video, but you're going to need to watch the whole thing to understand that. By now, you've all heard about the GameStop short squeeze or Wall Street versus Reddit or whatever you want to call it. I actually mentioned this situation last week in my weekly Restack segment on January 23rd before it really took off and commanded the whole world's attention. You probably basically heard about what happened so far, but just in case, here's a basic summary of what happened. A bunch of young amateur traders in their 20s and 30s communicated via online social networking platforms, namely Reddit, and they decided to collectively target highly shorted companies like GameStop, Express Clothing, and AMC, among others. All of those businesses have outdated business models and are not profitable. The traders coordinated a short squeeze to drive up the price and bought call options, and this is not illegal, and it's something that hedge fund, professional traders, and institutional traders do on a daily basis. Usually, individual and retail investors do not do this because they're not capable of doing this, because it's too difficult to coordinate such a large move or to funnel in enough capital. But this time it worked and the momentum took off. It's a fairly simple maneuver that doesn't really take that much financial savvy or education to perform. Here's the basic formula. Step 1, find companies that are heavily shorted. Step 2, coordinate amongst your peers. Step 3, execute as a group. Step 4, see how much momentum is gained and how much you can profit. The controversy actually started because several brokerages that these young retail investors were using to access the market and squeeze the short decided that they would restrict trading. Some of these platforms include, most notoriously, Rottin Hood, but there are also others such as TD Ameritrade and Webull. Let's hear Dave Portnoy's explanation of why this is controversial. He is a journalist and a businessman, and he went on Fox News, Tucker Carlson's show, to give his point of view about what happened.
Dave, this kind of gets to the heart of what you've been doing under quarantine, and I'm wondering what lessons we can draw from this. What is happening exactly?
You know, I've been trading heavily since quarantine started, and I was shocked by this. I personally did invest in AMC and Nokia. Those are two of the stocks that the Reddit guys and the Wall Street Bets guys were pushing. I believed in the power of the internet. When I saw what Robin Hood was doing, ironically, Robin Hood take from the rich and give to the poor, even though they do the exact opposite, I was stunned. I think it's criminal. I think there has to be an investigation. I think people have to go to jail. Whether that actually happens, I don't know. But I've never been more convinced about market manipulation and the people, the hedge funds, controlling the game than today. I mean, just to wake up and say, hey, you can't trade these stocks anymore. You can only sell them. We are going to intentionally crash the market in these stocks, and everyone who has it, tough, you're going to lose a ton of money, but we're going to save the rich people and the hedge funds. Shocking. Like, in 20 years of me doing Barstool, I'm not exaggerating, it's the most shocked I've been, and maybe I shouldn't be, but, you know, when you have AOC and Donald Trump Jr. both on the same side of an issue, you know something's dramatically wrong.
This seems like a betrayal of the basic promise of American public markets, which is they're transparent. It's purely meritocratic. I mean, that's why you've been able to make dough during quarantine. You make a bet, you're right, you win. I mean, how amazing is it to discover that that's not real?
Apparently it's real for them. And I love the lectures. You hear it from the hedge funds and the suits, as I call them, but they'll say they're protecting you and we're protecting you versus yourself, and people don't understand the risk and margin. And then you look at them, it's like, buddy, look in the mirror. You're doing the same thing. The hedge funds are betting against companies. We're betting on them. With money and margin, we're doing the same thing. The only difference is we're winning and you're getting your teeth kicked in, and you just said, time out. We're changing the rules. And it's bananas. It cannot happen. And I saw the Rottin Hood guy, Vlad, he's on TV. He's lying through his teeth. Listen, the thing that really is scary, Rottin Hood, I'm going to give this guy a shred of credit. When he woke up and he said, we're going to halt trading and ruin our client base, he knew that was the end of Rottin Hood. Rottin Hood's done. That company will cease to exist because what they built it on, the day trader, the retail trader, they're never going back. So he willingly blew up his company today. He knew that was going to happen. Why? Who's in the back end? Who's pulling the strings? Who's making the decisions? We have to find out. And by the way, it's not enough just to be like, oh, we're going to slap you on the wrist and give you a fine. These are billionaires. They can write billion-dollar checks like we write $10 checks. Somebody has to go to jail for this. This was intentional market manipulation. And it's everyday people. It's just not the Reddit people. I have people hit me up all the time today, yesterday. They're putting their rent into this. They got caught up in the momentum. And if you lose money fair and square, fine. But nobody was under the impression somebody could just press the stop button and say, guess what? We can crash this stock without you having any say. You can only sell it. You can't buy it. What happened? This is like the movie Wall Street. It's insane.
I just read a piece about 15 minutes ago that said, and it seemed right, that Robinhood's real customer is not retail investors like you. Its real customer is the hedge funds. They sell data on trades to the hedge funds, which use it to their advantage. Assuming that's true, did you know that?
Well,
do you think anyone who used Robinhood knew that?
I didn't know that. I did not know that till today. I don't think anybody knew a lot of the things that were going on till today. You know, again, Robinhood was operating under the guise that this was a retail trading platform. A lot of people said I helped build it because we had all our retail bros, as they call them, going there. They literally in their bio said they're going to democratize trading. It's the exact opposite. And now they're saying we're going to go back to normal tomorrow. We're going to let everybody do our normal trading tomorrow. Well, Tucker, what changed? Oh, I'll tell you what changed. The billionaire hedge funds, they got out of their shorts tonight. So why is this behavior not risky tomorrow, but it was today? It's because they're being pulled by strings. It's criminal behavior, what happened today. Plain and simple, people have to go to jail. Plain and simple.
If you ask me, that was a great explanation, but there was no pushback from Tucker Carlson. I think Tucker was probably largely in agreement with Dave there. So let's hear another conversation with one of my favorite investors, Chamath Palihapitiya, in which he receives pushback from the host. And let's hear how he handles that.
I think that what it proves is this retail phenomenon is here to stay. There are 2.7 million people inside of Wall Street Bets. I think that they are as important as any hedge fund or collection of hedge funds. And I think the most important thing is that in a world of zero interest rates and quantitative easing, I don't know how you can run a typical hedge fund strategy and make money anymore. Because, for example, when you looked at GameStop, you know, a normal person would say, how can you have 136% short interest? How can you be short 40% more shares than actually exist in the world? To a normal person, that doesn't make any sense. But to a Wall Street mathematician, that's the game that has been played for years. And that game came undone.
Well, I mean, that may be that may be somewhat of an extreme example. Let me just go through a couple of things you said here. I have a hard time believing. I mean, you suggested that there's, you know, a good amount of fundamental research going on underneath the GameStop Reddit situation. Do you truly believe that there's actual fundamental research? Not to disparage in any way the people who are actually making these trades, but this seems to be momentum rather than a deep fundamental analysis.
Scott, there's momentum in traditional hedge funds and how they move stocks as well. But it's really disparaging if the starting position is these guys can't do the same quality of research as an analyst in a fund. That's just not true.
I didn't say that. I didn't say they can't do that kind of research. I'm questioning whether they're actually doing the research when it comes to things like GameStop and AMC and some of these other things.
there's a distribution. And obviously at one end, there are fundamental analysts, but on the other end, there are momentum traders that follow trends. But by the way, the dirty little secret of Wall Street is that exists in hedge fund land. The reason why this GameStop trade has caused so much pain is because at the top of the pecking order was Melvin Capital. Those guys were incredible stock pickers. They are incredible fundamental modelers of companies. Okay, Gabe Plotkin is one of the sort of giants of our era, of my era, right? But at the end of the day, what happens is, irrespective of what he puts on, his trades are mimicked and copied by umpteen other hedge funds that follow along.
Now, if you compare Mr. Palapataya's rhetoric now compared to back in 2020, when many companies and large corporations were crying and whining about how they needed a bailout, his rhetoric is very consistent. These are the rules of the game. But the game is not being played fairly, and it's being rigged in the favor of the already wealthy, elite, powerful, and connected. Let's hear that clip now.
Are you suggesting, you keep saying propping up zombie companies. Are you arguing to let airlines, for example, fail?
Yes.
Why? I mean, how does that make sense in the broader scheme of the economy?
Because it's not, because when you look at what it means, this is why I'm saying, like, this is a lie that's been purported by Wall Street. When a company fails, it does not fire their employees. It goes through a packaged bankruptcy, right? If anything, what happens is the people who have the pensions inside those companies, the employees of these companies, end up owning more of the company. The people that get wiped out are the speculators that own the unsecured tranches of debt, or the folks that own the equity. And by the way, those are the rules of the game. That's right, because these are the people that purport to be the most sophisticated investors in the world. They deserve to get wiped out. But the employees don't get wiped out. The pensions don't typically get wiped out.
Why does anybody, I just don't understand, why does
you.
anybody deserve, using your word, to get wiped out from a crisis created like this? How does anybody deserve to get wiped out?
Well, but just be clear, like, who are we talking about? We're talking about a hedge fund that serves a bunch of billionaire family offices? Who cares? Let them get wiped out. Who cares? They don't get to summer in the Hamptons? Who cares?
I mean, there are people. You don't think the employees?
Hold on, Scott.
You don't think the employees of these companies own stocks? I mean, own their stocks, own the company's stocks?
You can look on Bloomberg and you can see what percentage of these companies are typically owned by. These things are owned by BlackRock. These things are owned by these huge, amorphous organizations. Ultimately, downstream, and the employee owns a few $100s or a few $1,000 of shares.
Well, I just don't understand.
So
this is like a natural disaster. And why does anybody deserve to get wiped out? Wouldn't that be immoral in and of itself?
No, because what's happening right now is what I'll tell you is on Main Street today, people are getting wiped out. And right now, rich CEOs are not. Boards that had horrible governance are not. Hedge funds are not. People are. 6 million people just this week alone basically saying, holy mackerel, I don't know how I'm going to make my own expenses for the next few weeks, days, months. So it's happening today to individual Americans. And what we've done is disproportionately prop up and protect poor performing CEOs, companies, and boards. And you have to wash these people out.
I couldn't agree more. Let them get wiped out. Who cares? So now that you're all armed with the facts and a clear understanding of what actually happened, let's talk about what you can actually do. First of all, I also need to say that I am not a fan of cancel culture, especially for PC or identity politics reasons. I don't enjoy it when somebody says the wrong word and loses their job or has to give a public apology or something like that. I'm not really suggesting that we cancel Rottin Hood. I think Rottin Hood canceled themselves. But it is important to say that Rottin Hood's only reason for existing is to give you access to the markets and to trade. And if they're going to restrict the very reason for their existence when it's too profitable or too much in your favor, according to them, then why would you stay with them? I have several friends, including among the stacking community. I'm not going to name any names, but already I have at least a dozen friends who have all sold all of their position and closed their accounts with Robin Hood, TD Ameritrade, and Webull. And those include regular stock trading accounts, but also IRAs. Now, some of them have moved their accounts over to brokers like Vanguard, who did not restrict trading throughout all of this. And I would encourage anyone who is associated with Robinhood or any of the other brokerages who did restrict trading to cut ties with them immediately. I'd also call on some of the larger stacking channels and other financial channels on YouTube who I have seen affiliated with Robinhood. One that comes to mind in particular is Guido Stackin, and to end their affiliation with Robinhood and remove all videos, links, and advertisements related to Robinhood. If they don't want to do that, that's fine. But I think it is important what kind of companies we choose to affiliate ourselves with and who we promote. In a free market, you have to punish bad actors and reward good actors. And again, I ask, why would you stick with a company that doesn't do what they're supposed to do when there are other options out there? Letting what is tantamount to criminal behavior go without any active response from us is confirmation to the rich and powerful and connected that they can get away with whatever they want, even when we band together to stand against them. If we don't do something about this now, then they will feel that they are above the law. So I strongly urge you to consider leaving your brokerage if they did any sort of restriction. Robinhood actually already did 2 types of restrictions with 2 different asset classes this past week. They restricted trading with a number of different stocks and with cryptocurrencies. This did cost a lot of people a lot of money and prevented them from changing their money in the market. This could have completely changed people's livelihoods. This was a potential opportunity of a lifetime, and Robinhood prevented people from doing this. That will lead some people to believe that the answer is more government intervention and regulation into financial markets so that this won't happen again. Unfortunately, that's another negative side effect to Robinhood's egregious acts this past week. But what those people who want more government regulation fail to realize is that is exactly what Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, and some government regulators wanted to do and did in this situation. They interfered with and changed the rules of the game in the middle of the game instead of letting the free markets operate. And why? Because for once, it was their friends and neighbors getting wiped out instead of ours. This must not go unanswered. I call on everyone to vote with your feet and punish Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, and find a different broker. And for the record, I have no links or affiliations with Vanguard. I just wanted to give you at least one alternative that exists out there. Next, as stackers, we can also get involved in short squeezes if we come together as a community. However, that would require all of us to get involved in the paper markets. So I encourage all of you to learn about that. A great channel where you can learn from is Juice Stacker. Understand that the paper and physical silver markets are not the same. There are similarities and they are connected, but there are also important differences. Also, Juice Stacker is not a financial advisor. He simply educates people about how to read technical financial analysis. So, arm yourselves with knowledge, facts, and if you see fit, get into the paper silver market so that we can punish many of the banks and financial institutions and hedge funds who are also short silver. And this leads me to my third point. Don't just buy from AppMex, JM Bullion, etc. Buy from the comics and demand physical delivery. Eventually, this will deplete their physical reserves and make it increasingly difficult for giant institutions to manipulate the silver price, as they themselves have admitted that they've been doing for decades. We can do this. It may not happen in as exciting a fashion as the GameStop short squeeze, and it might not happen as quickly as the GameStop short squeeze, but if we act together like silver zombies and just keep coming for their silver over and 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 over again, and we have our kids do it and their kids, ultimately we will win out. And the more of us who do it and the stronger we do it, the sooner we will win. So I'd like you to consider these points. Do not let Rottin Hood, TD Ameritrade, and these other billionaires prevent us from winning the game by having them cheat. And let's continue to flip the script on them and win. Win, win, win.
Win, 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 win. Win, 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 win. Win, 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 win.
This is Expat Stacker, and I'll catch you on the flip side.